The soft hum of the diplomatic vessel grew quieter as it completed docking procedures at Earth's orbital station Alpha. Professor Klazar adjusted his breathing apparatus and blinked his 4 eyes in sequence, a sign of nervousness in his species. After 3 decades studying predatory species across the galaxy, he was finally about to set foot on what he suspected was the most interesting world of all. "Professor, we've received clearance. The human delegation awaits you in the reception chamber." His assistant, a tall, willowy being named Vex, handed him a data tablet. "I've updated your translator with the latest Earth language patterns." Klazar nodded, his gray skin rippling slightly. "Remember, Vex, we are here unofficially. The Coalition believes Earth is just another developing world with limited potential. I intend to prove otherwise." The airlock cycled open, revealing a group of humans standing in formation. Klazar had studied their images, but seeing them in person was different. They stood straighter, seemed more alert, more present than other species. Their eyes tracked movement with unsettling precision. A woman with short blonde hair stepped forward. "Professor Klazar, welcome to Earth. I'm Dr. Alice Winters from the North American Science Institute. We're honored to host such a distinguished xenobiologist." Klazar extended 3 fingers in the traditional greeting of his homeworld. "The honor is mine, Dr. Winters. Your species has fascinated me since your first contact with the Coalition." Dr. Winters smiled, showing teeth, a gesture Klazar knew was friendly among humans, though it triggered instinctive warnings in his brain. Predator signals, just as he suspected. "My colleagues are eager to begin cultural exchange," she said, gesturing to the humans behind her. "But I understand you have a more specific research interest." "Yes. While the official delegation discusses trade agreements, I hoped you might assist me with a study of human evolutionary biology." Alice's eyes brightened with interest. "Of course. Though I must warn you, we've hosted 17 alien delegations in the 9 years since first contact. Our biology has been thoroughly documented." Klazar made a sound like bubbling water, his species' version of laughter. "Documented, perhaps, but understood? I think not." The tour of the orbital station proceeded efficiently. Humans moved with purpose, their movements economical yet fluid. Klazar noted how they constantly scanned their surroundings, a behavior consistent with predator species. "Your station is impressive for a species so new to space travel," Klazar commented as they entered the science wing. Alice shrugged. "We had to catch up quickly. The Coalition's arrival accelerated our development timeline. Yet you've maintained your own architectural style rather than adopting Coalition standards. Most species eagerly abandon their heritage for galactic integration. Humans are stubborn that way," Alice said with another smile. "We like being human." Their conversation was interrupted by a blaring alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the corridor and a calm voice announced, "Emergency protocols activated. Shuttle crash reported in Docking Bay 7. All medical and emergency personnel report for duty." Alice's posture changed instantly. She stood taller, her eyes narrowed, and she turned to Klazar. "I apologize, Professor. I need to help with this. I have medical training." Before Klazar could respond, she was moving, not running, but walking with urgent purpose. Curious, he followed her through the station corridors. The scene at Docking Bay 7 was chaos. A small transport shuttle had apparently malfunctioned during docking procedures, crashing into the bay wall. The shuttle's hull was breached, and fires burned in 2 sections. "Status report," Alice demanded from a man in a blue uniform. 8 passengers, 4 crew. "The fire's blocking the main exit and the emergency hatch is jammed. Life support in the shuttle will fail in about 40 minutes. Alice nodded. "Environmental suits?" "Only 3 functioning ones available right now." "Get them to the rescue, team. We'll rotate personnel." Klazar watched in fascination as humans organized themselves without apparent hierarchy. Some fought the fires while others prepared cutting equipment. Alice joined a group analyzing shuttle schematics on a display screen. "We can cut through here," she said, pointing to a section of the hull. A tall man in a security uniform shook his head. Too hot. The metal's compromised from the fire. Then we go through the maintenance tunnel, Alice insisted. It's narrow, but some of us can fit. It's also filling with smoke, another human pointed out. Then we bring oxygen tanks and masks, Alice countered. Sam, Kelly, can you two handle it? You're both smaller than me. Two humans nodded and immediately began preparing equipment. Klazar moved closer to Alice. Your species shows remarkable coordination in crisis. Alice barely glanced at him. It's what humans do, Professor. We solve problems. Over the next 36 hours, Klazar observed something that contradicted everything the Coalition taught about developing species. The humans worked continuously, rotating personnel but never stopping. Some went without sleep entirely. When the first rescue path failed, they immediately developed alternatives. When equipment broke, they improvised repairs. By the time the last passenger was rescued, alive though injured, many of the humans were physically exhausted. Their skin was covered in what Klazar recognized as sweat. Their breathing labored. Yet they continued functioning. Alice rejoined him after helping treat the injured. Her uniform was stained with soot and blood, her face streaked with grime. I apologize for the interruption to our tour, Professor. Klazar stared at her with all four eyes wide open. You worked for 36 hours without rest. Alice blinked, seeming confused by his observation. Yes? People needed help. According to galactic medical standards, your species should be unable to maintain cognitive function after 20 hours without sleep. Your own scientific literature suggests this. Alice laughed softly. Well, humans have been known to exceed expectations when necessary. She ran a hand through her short hair. It's not comfortable, and I'll crash hard later. But in emergencies, we do what we must. Klazar's inner membranes flickered, a sign of deep thought among his kind. This is precisely why I came to Earth, Dr. Winters. Your species has been fundamentally misclassified by Coalition standards. How so? The Coalition categorizes worlds by their evolutionary path. Earth has been classified as a harsh cycle developing world, which typically produces species with limited potential for advancement. Klazar's voice grew more intense. But they've missed something crucial about humans, something I've suspected for years. And what's that, Professor? Klazar looked at the exhausted rescue workers still tending to the injured, still repairing damage, still functioning despite biological limits that should have stopped them hours ago. That you are not just another intelligent species, Dr. Winters. You are something far more rare in the galaxy. His voice dropped lower. You are apex predators who learn to cooperate. And the galaxy has no idea what that truly means. 3 days after the shuttle incident, Professor Klazar sat in Dr. Alice Winters' laboratory at the North American Science Institute. The lab overlooked a vast green park in the middle of the city, where humans jogged, played with their young, and walked their companion animals. Klazar found the scene both charming and revealing. You exercise for pleasure, he said, his four eyes tracking a group of runners. Most species avoid unnecessary energy expenditure. Alice looked up from her computer screen. Humans get restless when inactive. Our bodies are made to move. Klazar nodded. This supports my theory. I would like to form a research team to study human evolutionary traits in comparison to other predatory species. The Coalition has already done extensive studies on humans, Alice reminded him. Yes, but they examined you as they would any new species, through standard protocols designed for categorization. I wish to look deeper. Klazar's skin rippled with excitement. Will you help me? Alice smiled. Let me make some calls. I know. Just the people. 2 days later, Klazar met the team Alice had assembled. They gathered in a larger conference room with walls covered in displays showing Earth's evolutionary history. This is Jack Lawson, Alice said, introducing a broad-shouldered man with short brown hair and alert eyes. Former Marine, now my research assistant. Jack has practical experience with human physical capabilities in extreme conditions. Jack nodded but said nothing, his gaze evaluating Klazar with unnerving intensity. "Dr. Olivia Cruz?" Alice continued, gesturing toward a woman with curly black hair. "She specializes in human neurological responses, particularly our fight-or-flight mechanisms." "Pleasure to meet you, Professor," Olivia said. "Alice says you have some interesting theories about humans." And finally, Peter Daniels, anthropologist with expertise in early human hunting practices. A lean man with glasses extended his hand. "I've studied how humans evolved as hunters across different environments. I'm curious about your perspective as a non-human observer." Klazar clicked his lower mandibles, a gesture of approval. "An excellent team. Let us begin by comparing human traits to other predatory species, both on Earth and throughout known space." Over the next few weeks, the team collected extensive data. Jack demonstrated human strength and endurance tests while wearing monitoring equipment. Olivia mapped brain patterns during simulated stress scenarios. Peter shared reconstructions of ancient hunting techniques, showing how early humans had used persistence hunting to exhaust faster prey. "You see," Peter explained, pointing to diagrams, "humans cannot outrun most animals in a sprint, but we can follow them for days, keeping a steady pace until they collapse from heat exhaustion." "No other known sentient species evolved this way," Klazar said, his voice filled with wonder. "Most either developed overwhelming strength, natural weapons, or exceptional speed. But humans, you simply refuse to stop." Jack spoke up, his voice matter-of-fact. "In basic training, they teach us that the mind gives up before the body. Most people can push far beyond what they think is possible. This connects to what I've observed," Olivia added. "Human pain thresholds are remarkably adaptable. We can suppress pain signals when necessary for survival." Klazar recorded everything, growing more excited with each discovery. "You are also the only known species to combine these endurance traits with advanced tool use and pack hunting behaviors. Individual species across the galaxy have some of these characteristics, but never all together." One afternoon, as the team reviewed their findings, they encountered an unexpected obstacle. Klazar attempted to access comparative data from the Coalition's xenobiology database, only to find his credentials had been restricted. "Strange," he muttered, trying different access codes. "I should have full clearance to these files." Alice leaned over his shoulder. "What's happening?" "Someone has classified information about human physiology. I can no longer access comparative data for species similar to yours." Jack's expression darkened. "Why would alien data about humans be restricted?" "More importantly," Peter added, "who has the authority to restrict a leading coalition scientist?" Klazar's skin turned a deeper gray, a sign of concern in his species. "Only the Security Council could override my access. This is troubling." That evening, Klazar received a secure communication from his assistant Vex, who had remained on the Coalition diplomatic vessel. "Professor, there are rumors circulating," Vex whispered, glancing nervously over his shoulder. "Security Council members have been asking about your research. They seem concerned about your focus on human predatory traits." "Have they explained why?" Klazar asked. "No, but I overheard something disturbing. They mentioned maintaining the classification and preventing unnecessary alarm. Professor, I believe they're deliberately keeping humans categorized as a limited potential species." After the call ended, Klazar sat in silence, his four eyes blinking out of sync, a sign of deep distress. The Coalition, known for its dedication to scientific truth, was hiding something about humans. But why? The next morning, Klazar shared this development with the team. Alice appeared troubled, while Jack's expression hardened into something Klazar now recognized as a combat-ready state. "We need to continue without Coalition data," Klazar decided. "We will conduct our own comparisons." "I can help with that," Peter offered. "Earth has plenty of apex predators we can study directly. Wolves, big cats, sharks." "And I have contacts at the Defense Department," Jack added. "Military testing has gathered data on human performance extremes that never made it to public databases," Olivia nodded. "I can design new neural mapping tests specifically for predatory decision-making patterns." As the days passed, their research revealed increasingly surprising results. Humans displayed pattern recognition abilities that bordered on precognition when detecting threats. Their adaptability to extreme environments without genetic modification exceeded all known parameters. Most remarkably, they showed an ability to form cooperative bonds with non-related individuals that far surpassed other pack hunters. "It's not just that you're predators," Klazar explained during one session. "Many species evolved as hunters. What makes humans unique is your combination of traits coupled with your social structures." One evening, as they were reviewing their findings, the laboratory door slid open unexpectedly. A tall man in a military uniform entered, his posture rigid but his movements controlled in a way that reminded Klazar of Jack. "Dr. Winters," the man asked. "I'm Admiral Martin Gray, Earth, Space Defense Force. We need to talk about Professor Klazar's research." Alice stood. "Admiral? How did you know about our work?" "Because we've been conducting similar studies but with different information." The Admiral's gaze shifted to Klazar. "Professor, you've noticed the Coalition restricting your access. There's, a reason for that. They wish to maintain Earth's classification as a limited potential world," Klazar stated. Admiral Gray's expression remained neutral. "That's what they want everyone to believe. The truth is more complicated." He placed a data drive on the table. 3 Coalition exploration vessels have disappeared in the past year after encountering unknown hostiles at the galaxy's edge. The Coalition has been hiding this from most worlds to prevent panic. "What does this have to do with classifying humans?" Alice asked. The Admiral's voice dropped lower. "They're afraid of what you really are, Professor Klazar, and even more, afraid of what you might become if you knew the truth." Silence filled the laboratory as Admiral Gray inserted the data drive into the main computer. The screens came alive with images of star systems, ship logs, and what appeared to be battle damage. "These are classified recordings from the Coalition. Vessel Eternal Light before it went dark," the Admiral explained. "Their last transmission mentioned an attack by an unknown species. The team watched as grainy footage showed dark ships appearing near a Coalition science station. The weapons fire was unlike anything Klazar had seen before. It seemed to absorb energy rather than destroy through force. We call them the Void Collective, based on intercepted communications," Admiral Gray continued. "They've taken 12 outer systems already. The Coalition has kept this quiet to prevent panic." Klazar's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "But why hide information about human capabilities?" The Admiral's face hardened. "Because we're predators, Professor, and the Coalition fears having 2 aggressive species to deal with instead of 1. Alice stepped forward. "That makes no sense. If there's a threat, wouldn't they want allies?" "Unless," Jack interrupted, his military training evident in his quick analysis, "they fear we might side with these void creatures instead of them, or become an equal threat later." Admiral Gray nodded. "The Coalition consists mainly of species that evolved as prey or specialized hunters in stable environments. Humans evolved on a death world by their standards, fighting for survival against multiple apex predators while developing intelligence and social structures." Peter whistled softly. "They're afraid of what we might become." "Exactly," the Admiral confirmed. "And now I need to know what your research has found, Professor, because we need to understand our own capabilities if we're going to survive what's coming." The next morning, the team relocated to a secure facility beneath the Defense Department headquarters. With new clearance, Klazar gained access to both human military testing data and previously hidden Coalition files. "This is remarkable," Klazar said as Jack completed another physical stress test. "You've been running at full speed for over 4 hours with minimal decrease in performance." Jack barely seemed winded. "Marathon runners do better. I'm built more for strength than endurance." Olivia analyzed the readings. "His body is processing lactic acid at rates that should be impossible. And look at these cortisol levels. He's suppressing stress responses." In another test chamber, Peter worked with a group of soldiers on problem-solving under pressure. They were presented with complex tactical situations while subjected to noise, heat, and simulated danger. Most species show at least 60% decrease in cognitive function under similar stress. Klazar noted as he watched. These humans are showing less than 20% degradation. It's how we survived, Peter explained. Our ancestors had to think clearly while being hunted or while hunting dangerous prey. Later that day, Olivia conducted neural mapping tests on Alice as she worked through emergency scenarios. The results stunned even Klazar. Your brain pattern shows something I've never seen, he said, pointing to the display. When faced with danger to yourself, your neural activity remains controlled, but when others are threatened, your brain lights up in patterns similar to those seen in combat predators, yet with coordination centers fully engaged. Meaning what? Alice asked. Meaning humans become more focused, not less, when protecting others. Your predatory instincts enhance rather than override your rational thought when your group is threatened. Klazar's voice conveyed wonder. This is unprecedented in galactic records. Admiral Gray joined them, reviewing the latest findings. So we're not just tough. We're designed to protect our pack. More than that, Klazar said. You are evolutionary anomalies. Most predator species either hunt alone or in genetically related groups. Humans form protective bonds with unrelated individuals, even with different species. Is that why the Coalition fears us? Alice asked. I believe so, Klazar replied. Species like mine evolved in environments where cooperation was naturally selected. We never developed the capacity for the coordinated aggression that humans possess. Jack, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. So we're dangerous. Tell us something we don't know. Klazar turned all four eyes toward him. You don't understand. The Coalition fears you because you are the only known species who evolved, both the capacity for extreme violence and the ability to control it with moral codes. You can choose when to be predators. That makes you unpredictable. The following week brought another breakthrough when Klazar examined human recovery rates from injuries. While treating a minor cut on Jack's arm from equipment failure, he noticed something peculiar. Your healing process began immediately, he said, examining the wound under specialized equipment. Most species have a delay between injury and healing. Response. Humans are pretty resilient, Jack shrugged. No, this is more than resilience. Klazar's excitement was visible in his rippling skin color. Your immune system and repair mechanisms activate instantly and work together. It's as if your bodies expect to be damaged and prepare accordingly. Olivia looked thoughtful. Makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint. If you're hunting dangerous prey or fighting predators regularly, quick healing would be selected for. As the days passed, more patterns emerged. Humans required less recovery time between physically demanding activities. They adapted to sleep deprivation better than any known sentient species. Their ability to improvise with limited resources exceeded all Coalition metrics for problem solving. One evening, as the team reviewed their findings, Admiral Gray brought new information. The Coalition Security Council is sending representatives to Earth next week, he said grimly. They're concerned about Professor Klazar's extended stay and his focus on human capabilities. They wish to stop our research, Klazar stated. Or control what findings get released, the Admiral confirmed. They're particularly interested in suppressing information about human combat potential. Alice looked troubled. But why? If there's a threat out there, shouldn't the galaxy know what humans can do to help? That assumes they want our help, Jack pointed out. What if they just want us contained? Klazar had been unusually quiet. Now he looked up, his eyes focused on a distant point as if seeing something beyond the room. I've been analyzing all our data, he said slowly, comparing human traits not just to individual species but to all known evolutionary patterns. I've reached a hypothesis that explains the Coalition's behavior. What is it? Peter asked. Humans aren't just another predator species, Klazar said, his voice filled with both awe and concern. By galactic standards, you are apex predators, possibly the only ones capable of confronting the approaching threat. Admiral Gray leaned forward. You're saying we're the galaxy's best hope against these void creatures? I'm saying, Klazar replied, that humans evolved in conditions that should have prevented the development of intelligence altogether. You survived not just despite your harsh world, but because of it. It forged you into something the galaxy has never seen before. Alice's voice was quiet when she finally spoke. And that's why they classified us as limited potential? To keep us from realizing what we really are? Yes, Klazar confirmed. Because a species that doesn't know its strength is easier to control, and I believe the Coalition fears what would happen if humans ever fully understood their true place in the galactic hierarchy. Jack crossed his arms. So what do we do with this information? Klazar's skin shifted to a determined blue hue. We present the truth, to everyone, before the Council can stop us. The week passed quickly as the team prepared for Klazar's presentation. They worked long hours, organizing their research into a clear format that both humans and alien species could understand. The Coalition delegation would arrive in 2 days, and they needed to be ready. We should focus on the practical applications, Alice suggested as they reviewed their presentation. Not just what makes humans different, but how those differences could help against the Void Collective. Klazar nodded, his gray skin shifting with thoughtful patterns. Yes, we must show that human predatory traits are valuable, not threatening. Jack, who had been testing equipment in the corner of the lab, looked up. Do we have any actual data on these void creatures? Knowing the enemy would help make our case. Admiral Gray had been quiet during the meeting. Now he tapped his secure tablet and placed it on the table. This arrived an hour ago. Another Coalition outpost went dark 3 days ago. They managed to send visual data before communications failed. The team gathered around the screen. The footage showed tall, shadow-like beings moving with unnatural speed. Their bodies seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. When they touched Coalition equipment, it quickly stopped working. They disrupt energy systems somehow, Peter observed. Look how the lights fail as they pass. And they move in perfect coordination, Olivia added, almost like a hive mind. Klazar studied the footage carefully. Notice how they avoid direct conflict? They disable systems first, then move in. Classic ambush predator behavior. So they're predators too, Alice said quietly. Yes, but specialized ones, Klazar explained. They appear to have evolved to hunt through stealth and technology disruption. Humans evolved as generalists, able to adapt to various hunting methods and environments. Admiral Gray looked grim. Coalition species have been at peace so long they've forgotten how to fight. Most of them evolved as prey species or specialized predators in stable environments, which is why they need us, Jack concluded, and why they fear us. The day before the Coalition delegation arrived, an unexpected visitor came to their lab. Vex, Klazar's assistant, entered looking nervous and exhausted. Professor, I had to warn you, he said, his thin limbs trembling slightly. The Security Council representatives aren't coming just to evaluate your research. They're coming to shut it down and take you back to Coalition space. Klazar's eyes widened. They would interfere with scientific inquiry? This violates our most basic principles. Vex lowered his voice. There's more. They've classified humans as potential security risks. There's talk of limiting Earth's expansion and access to advanced technology. The room went silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Gray was the first to speak. They want to contain us while they figure out how to handle the Void Collective. Keep us in the dark while they make decisions about our future. That would be a catastrophic mistake, Klazar said firmly. Humans thrive on challenges and resist control. Limiting them would only create the very threat the Coalition fears. Alice placed a hand on Klazar's shoulder, a human gesture of support he had come to appreciate. Then we need to make sure your presentation happens before they can stop it. The next morning, the Coalition delegation arrived. 5 representatives from the Security Council stepped off their shuttle, accompanied by a dozen assistants and security personnel. Their varied physiology reflected the diversity of the Coalition, some tall and willowy like Vex, others short with multiple limbs, and one that seemed to float rather than walk. The lead representative, a being named Sor Tool, with iridescent skin and 3 eyes, greeted Admiral Gray formally. We appreciate Earth's hospitality. We understand Professor Klazar has been conducting research here. Yes, the Admiral replied. He's prepared a presentation on his findings for the joint session today. Sortul's middle eye narrowed, a sign of disapproval in his species. There has been a change of plans. The professor is to return with us immediately for debriefing. His extended absence from Coalition space has caused concern. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Admiral Gray said calmly. Professor Klazar has been granted diplomatic guest status by Earth's leadership. His presentation will proceed as scheduled. The tension was palpable as Sortul considered this obstacle. This is a Security Council matter. Earth does not yet have full Coalition membership rights to override our authority. Actually, Alice stepped forward. According to Coalition Charter Section 7, scientific exchange cannot be restricted even for non-member worlds when information concerns mutual defense. Klazar moved to Alice's side. My research falls precisely under that category, Representative Sortul. I am ready to present my findings to both Earth's leadership and your delegation, together. After tense negotiations, the presentation was allowed to proceed, though Sortul insisted it be limited to a small audience. They gathered in Earth's diplomatic chamber, a round room with screens covering the walls. Admiral Gray had positioned human security personnel at every entrance, a fact not lost on the Coalition representatives. Klazar stood before the assembled group, his posture formal, but his voice filled with conviction. Distinguished representatives, I came to Earth to study an evolutionary puzzle. I discovered something far more important, possibly the key to facing the threat we all know exists at the edge of our space. The screens activated, showing comparative data between humans and other species. Humans evolved on one of the harshest known worlds with an unusually high number of apex predators. This forced them to develop unique adaptations. Klazar methodically presented their findings: human endurance capabilities, problem-solving under stress, recovery rates, and social bonding patterns. With each point, the Coalition delegates grew more visibly uncomfortable. Most critically, Klazar continued, humans possess an unprecedented combination of traits: extreme endurance, pack hunting strategies, and advanced tool use. This combination doesn't exist anywhere else in known space. Sortul stood abruptly. This presentation must end. You are revealing classified information about a member species without authorization. Klazar remained calm. The information was classified improperly. The Coalition Charter forbids suppressing scientific data without consensus from all Council species. There are security considerations, Sortul began. Yes, Klazar interrupted, the security of all sentient life against the Void Collective, which brings me to my most important finding. The screen changed to show human brain activity during crisis situations. Human psychological traits, particularly aggression paired with empathy, create a unique species capable of extreme violence yet bound by moral codes. Most importantly, humans possess an unprecedented drive to protect others, even at great personal risk. Klazar turned to face the Coalition representatives. Directly, you have hidden the Void Collective threat while searching for a solution. You classified humans as limited potential not because you believed it, but because you feared what they might become. Sortul's skin pulsed with angry colors. This is outrageous speculation. It is documented fact, Klazar countered, sending new information to the screens. I accessed the original classification reports. Humans were deliberately underrated despite data showing their exceptional potential. As chaos erupted in the chamber, Klazar raised his voice to be heard. My conclusion will shock you all, but the evidence is irrefutable. Humanity doesn't just have the potential to fight this threat. They were literally born for this purpose. The room fell silent as Klazar's final words rang out. In a universe of herbivores and specialized hunters, we have discovered wolves who can feel compassion, and that changes everything. 6 months passed since Klazar's presentation. Despite attempts by some Coalition members to suppress his findings, the information spread quickly throughout galactic networks. The revelation about the Void Collective threat, combined with the true nature of human capabilities, had created a profound shift in interstellar politics. Klazar stood on the observation deck of Colony Station Epsilon, watching transport ships arrive and depart. The station orbited a peaceful agricultural world inhabited by the Lurai, a gentle species physically incapable of violence. Their soft blue skin lacked the necessary density for combat, and their nervous systems shut down under extreme stress. Perfect adaptations for their historically predator-free homeworld. Professor, the new defense systems are fully installed, Alice said as she joined him at the viewport. In the months following their research, she had been appointed as Earth's scientific liaison to the Coalition. Impressive progress, Klazar noted. 6 months ago, the Coalition would never have allowed human military technology on a non-human station. Fear of the Void Collective outweighed their fear of us, Alice replied. Though some species are still uncomfortable with the arrangement. The station housed 10,000 Lurai civilians who specialized in botanical research. It had become a priority defense point after intelligence suggested the Void Collective was targeting food production systems. Jack's team is finished with the evacuation drills, Alice continued. Though the Lurai struggle with the concept, they've never needed to flee from anything before. Klazar nodded. After his research had been published, Jack Lawson had been promoted to lead a specialized human response team. They were now stationed throughout Coalition space, teaching defense tactics to species that had forgotten, or never known, how to fight. The Lurai represent everything humans instinctively protect, Klazar observed. Peaceful, creative beings who contribute greatly to the common good. Their conversation was interrupted by a station-wide alert. Red lights flashed as a calm voice announced, "Unidentified vessels approaching. All personnel to designated safety areas. This is not a drill." Klazar and Alice rushed to the command center. Admiral Gray was already there, having arrived the previous day for a security inspection. The main screen showed 3 dark ships approaching the station, their shapes seeming to bend the light around them. Void Collective, the Admiral confirmed grimly. First direct contact in Coalition space. Station shields at maximum, reported a human technician. Emergency protocols activated. The Lurai station director, a tall blue being named Mila, trembled, visibly. Our people are not prepared for conflict. We have no experience with this kind of danger. That's why we're here, Jack said as he entered the command center in combat gear. His team of 12 humans followed, carrying specialized equipment designed to counter the Void Collective's energy disruption abilities. Evacuation ships are ready, Alice reported. We can get the civilians to safety if we can hold the defensive line. The first attack came moments later. The station shuddered as something struck the outer shields. Systems flickered, and several screens went dark. They're testing our defenses, Admiral Gray observed. Typical predator behavior, probing for weaknesses before committing to the attack. Klazar watched in fascination as the humans responded. There was no panic, no hesitation, just coordinated action. Jack deployed his team to critical junctions throughout the station, while Admiral Gray coordinated the defensive systems. First, wave of evacuation pods away, Alice announced as the station rocked again. 200 civilians clear. The main doors to the command center suddenly sparked and began to malfunction. They're inside the station, Jack warned. Seal all emergency bulkheads. The next hour passed in controlled chaos. The void beings moved through the station, disabling systems as they advanced. Jack's team engaged them directly, using specially designed weapons that counteracted their energy absorption abilities. Klazar observed something remarkable during the conflict. The humans fought with incredible efficiency, but it was their priorities that truly stood out. Every tactical decision centered on protecting the Lurai civilians, even when it put the humans at greater risk. Sector 7 compromised, Jack reported, his voice steady despite the wound on his shoulder. Rerouting evacuation through secondary corridors. 70% of civilians evacuated, Alice added, but we're losing power to the launch bays. Admiral Gray made a quick decision. Jack, take your team and secure those launch bays. We need to get the remaining civilians out. Klazar watched as Jack nodded and moved out without question, despite his injury. In that moment, Klazar fully understood what made humans different. They weren't just fighting because they were good at it. They were fighting because they couldn't conceive of not protecting those weaker than themselves. 3 hours later, the attack was over. The void ships had retreated after suffering unexpected losses. The station was damaged but intact. Most importantly, all Lurai civilians had been evacuated safely to the planet below. In the aftermath, Klazar recorded everything he had observed. The humans had performed beyond even his predictions. They had continued fighting despite injuries that would incapacitate other species. They had improvised tactics in real time. Most remarkably, they had prioritized civilian safety over personal survival in every instance. 2 weeks later, Klazar presented these battle records to the full Galactic Security Council on the Coalition capital world. The chamber was filled to capacity, with representatives from every member species present. "The evidence is undeniable," Klazar stated as he showed footage of humans defending the station. "What you are witnessing is not just combat skill. It is the natural expression of human evolutionary psychology." The screens displayed humans creating improvised barricades, treating injured Lurai, and engaging the void beings directly. Note how they instinctively form defensive perimeters around non-combatants, how they communicate complex tactics with minimal words, how they adapt instantly when standard approaches fail. Sortul, who had opposed Klazar's research, spoke reluctantly. "We cannot deny the effectiveness of the human response, but their aggressive nature remains concerning." "You misunderstand what you fear in them," Klazar replied. "Humans are not simply aggressive, they are protective. Their predatory nature is balanced by something remarkable, a deep capacity for empathy that extends beyond their own kind." The council chamber erupted in debate, but the outcome was inevitable. The evidence from Colony Station Epsilon had proven what Klazar had been arguing for months. 1 week later, the Human Defense Initiative was formally established, with Earth taking the lead in preparing for the coming conflict. On the day the first human ships deployed to protect Coalition worlds, Klazar stood with Admiral Gray in the UIE launch bay of Earth's Orbital Command Center. "The Coalition feared you might be predators," Klazar observed as they watched the vessels depart. "They never realized that's exactly what was needed. In their comfortable worlds, they forgot that. Sometimes you need wolves to keep the flock safe." Admiral Gray watched his troops deploy with quiet pride. "That's the thing about humans that your report missed, Professor. We're not just predators. We're protectors. And that makes all the difference." Klazar's skin rippled with patterns of agreement, a distinction I have come to appreciate greatly. As the last ship launched, carrying humans to defend worlds not their own, Klazar knew his place in history was secured. He would forever be known as the alien scholar who revealed why humans were the universe's apex predators, not because of their capacity for violence, but because they had learned to channel that predatory nature into protecting others. And in a galaxy facing a terrifying new threat that made humans not just dangerous, but essential.